Hi, hello, welcome. Let's talk about Nepo babies. For the past week, my entire social media feed has been blowing up with posts about North West, the child of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. Because North West, at the young age of 10 years old, has recently made her acting debut at the Hollywood Bowl. Which, no, is not a gladiatorial arena where I can watch Danny DeVito break Timothée Chalamet over his knee like a freaking pretzel. It is, in fact, one of the largest musical theater programs in the world. North West had the role of Simba in the Lion King's 30th anniversary celebration, where she got to perform the iconic song, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, and the response to that performance has been overwhelmingly negative.
Oh, I just can't wait to be king.
A lot of people on social media have pointed out that North West struggles to hit a lot of the notes in the song. It doesn't really seem like she's very familiar with the choreography, and at several points throughout the performance, backup dancers had to literally hold her hand and drag her to the correct spot. Overall, it was a very rough around the edges performance, very below the standard that you would have for a show that stars so many Broadway legends, which has led a lot of people to calling North West a Nepo baby and only being cast because of who her parents are. And I think this is something we're going to see a lot in the next several years, with all of these celebrity parents trying to turn what was just their fame into an entire dynasty. Everyone wants to be the next Kardashians. But if I'm being honest, I feel like they're only setting up these children for failure with the amount of pressure they're putting on them, especially with stunts like this. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to rip on a literal 4th grader singing ability, because 1, I can't do better, and 2, I'm an adult. I'm not going to punch down at a literal 10-year-old. I only kick children. They're lower to the ground. Jokes aside though, if I had paid the over $300 ticket price to see this show and was met with that performance, I would be a little upset. North West isn't a bad performer for a 10-year-old, it's just that I paid to see a Broadway level performance, and this was anything but. Especially when you compare this performance to some of the other children who have performed this song on Broadway.
Everybody look left. Everybody look right. Everybody look right. Standing in the spotlight. Everybody look left. Everybody look right. Everybody look I'm standing in the spotlight.
Many people have made claims that they were the parents of other children auditioning, and that Kim Kardashian simply strolled in at the final round of auditions, had a word with the producer, and the role was her daughter's. Other sources have all but confirmed that the producers had claimed that as long as North West could hold a note that she would get the part, and the fact that Full Well 73, the production team behind the show, is also the production team behind the Kardashians Hulu show, this seems to be the truth. It also seems like the Kardashians had a large say in the show, such as the wardrobe, when you compare North West's very simple pajama looking attire to the costumes that are much more elaborate of, say, the backup dancers. Naturally, all of this meddling has led to a lot of people making fun of North West on social media and calling her a Hollywood Nepo baby. Don't let anyone know I only have a YouTube channel because my dad is friends with Mr. Bean. Now, I want to make this extremely clear. My goal today is not to make fun of children. I think anyone who watched this performance, even if you are upset and is thinking, clearly the 10-year-old child is at fault. North West has been planning to ruin my enjoyment of The Lion King for years, should seek help. She's a 10-year-old, not a mastermind of entertainment. But I do think it is very fair to call this what it is, which is a clear case of a Nepo baby, or Hollywood nepotism at its finest. Which, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is someone who gets a lot of unearned achievements thanks to who their family members or connections are. And while this is prevalent in every industry in the world, I'm mostly going to be talking about the entertainment industry. Because I think this is a hot take. I think North West is a victim in this situation. Should North West have been cast? Absolutely not. I don't think so. I think she was grossly underprepared for this role, and that's very clear. But that's also not her fault. It's the fault of her parents and the producers for putting her in a situation she was not prepared for. Yes, she probably wanted to do it, but if you ask any 10-year-old who wants to be a famous performer if they want to perform in front of 20,000 people, they're gonna say yes. Children are stupid. But here's the thing. It's up to the adults around them not to put them on stage until they're ready. My parents used to have this story where if a child crashes a car into their neighbor's house, it's not the fault of the child, it's the fault of the dumbass who let a child drive a car. Now, for the record, I'm not saying that there should be zero child performers. I don't want to go back to the age of Nickelodeon sitcoms where they have a clear 30-year-old man playing a teenager. But in the age of social media and online harassment, I think it's very irresponsible to put a child in the public spotlight and perform when they're clearly not ready. There are plenty of children who seem like they are ready to perform at that level, but this is Northwest's very first acting role, and that is a wild bar to set. Every person is going to make their mistakes their first time doing anything, so you should make sure your child isn't going to make mistakes on one of the largest stages in the world. Northwest is so inexperienced that even if she went to every single rehearsal, and there are multiple stories saying that she might not have, she's still going to mess up. And it's a shame, because I'm assuming her parents are only doing this so that their child can be a star and for more publicity, as the Kardashians do, and the producers of the show probably just saw a big name to make headlines for free PR and saw dollar signs. But this is their literal child, and skipping steps like this and putting them way above their head is going to have long-term negative effects for their mental health and their career moving forward. Like I said earlier, the response to this performance has been overwhelmingly negative, and I have no doubts that Northwest is receiving online harassment, which is cringe, but that will always be part of the memory of her first performance. When I was 10 years old, I auditioned for my elementary school talent show by singing White and Nerdy by Weird Al. I didn't get in, and it still keeps me up at night years later. This is like that, but times 1,000. That's going to stick with her, and for all the adults who were watching these rehearsals, at one point they had to realize that she was not ready and they chose to do nothing. That's straight up neglectful parenting. Another example of a Nepo baby in entertainment where we've seen this play out was Rebecca Black. In 2011, Rebecca Black's parents paid to have the song Friday produced and a music video made starring Rebecca Black. And outside of being just completely iconic, it was universally panned for being one of the worst songs ever produced, and Black received a ton of harassment that, in her own words, for the next several years made her extremely depressed. It was a traumatic moment. And while Rebecca Black's parents were very wealthy, I don't really blame them for this because they're not celebrities. There's a good chance they just didn't know the type of harassment that could be incurred from a video like this. The Kardashians should know better. I don't see the Kardashians putting Northwest in this situation as any different from cringy YouTube and TikTok family channels that sort of take advantage of their kids for online clout. It's straight up neglectful and really weird. Now, I want to make very clear in this video as well, I'm not defending 1% children. I'm not defending these kids who, if they so choose, would never have to work another day in their life. They could delete all social media, live on a private island, and be fine. But I do have some level of sympathy for having to put up with this immense amount of pressure, not just from their parents, but from the public at large. There's also a huge consensus that a lot of Nepo babies are completely untalented, but I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that some of their favorite stars are also quote-unquote Nepo babies. Zooey Deschanel of New Girl fame has a father with an Oscar, and her mother was on Twin Peaks. Zoe Kravitz, who has been blowing up the past couple years, is the daughter of the legendary musician Lenny Kravitz. Even Nicolas Cage, legendary performer Nicolas Cage, is the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola, the director of The Godfather. Nepo babies are everywhere, people! But you don't see anyone saying these three are untalented. Jury's still out on Nicolas Cage, I'll give you that. I think the key is, just because all of these people have famous relatives, they still have to audition and fight for roles. They don't just get to skip over it because they have famous relatives like what Northwest did here. They just use their connections for a foot in the door, which, yes, is still nepotism, but is more just of an advantage instead of a completely unearned achievement. I also think it prevents you from being permanently tied to your parents. Like, I didn't know Zoe Kravitz was the daughter of Lenny Kravitz, which is more than I can say for Jaden Smith, the Nepo baby son of Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith.
Fortnite and Marquez Brownlee.
Now, Jaden Smith, despite having both a music and acting career, is most well known for being Will Smith's son, which sounds very harsh of me, but is literally the second line on his Wikipedia page, so you tell me. Not only did Jaden Smith make his acting debut at the age of 8 years old alongside his father Will Smith in the movie The Pursuit of Happiness, but arguably Jaden Smith's biggest movie was the movie After Earth, where he also starred alongside his father, playing a father and son. After Earth came out in 2013 and was hyped up to be one of the biggest summer blockbusters of that year. Not only was it written by Will Smith, not only was it produced by Will Smith, but it starred Will Smith alongside his son Jaden Smith, playing a father and son duo. Now granted, I haven't researched this, I would bet my entire YouTube channel Jaden Smith did not audition for this role. And this is cruel, because it puts Jaden Smith in a no-win scenario. If the movie ends up being the hit it's hyped up to be, it's not because of Jaden Smith's own efforts, it's because he had this role handed to him by his father on a silver platter. But if the movie does fail, it's because Jaden Smith is a terrible actor and he was only in this movie because the role was handed to him by his father on a silver platter. Which, spoilers, is exactly what happened. This led to a lot of people naming Jaden Smith as the worst actor of 2013, despite him only being a 15-year-old child. Cut him some slack! The same year After Earth came out, Jaden Smith filed for emancipation from his parents. And while yes, it seemed like they worked things out so that this didn't go through, in an interview with Ellen DeGeneres, Jaden Smith had this to say.
He says as soon as I have a movie that's bigger than one of his movies,
yeah, there ain't no reason to live at my house no more.
Good job, Will Smith. Way to not put pressure on your son. Just have a movie bigger than mine, and then I'll treat you like an adult. The level of online harassment these children receive is straight up traumatic, and you wonder why Jaden Smith started posting weird philosophical stuff on Twitter. In complete contrast to Will and Jaden Smith, let's look at Hannah Montana, starring Miley Cyrus alongside her father, Billy Ray Cyrus, a famous country singer. Miley Cyrus still had to audition for the role of Hannah Montana alongside 2 other girls who were more experienced in Disney, but she still got the role. In fact, Billy Ray Cyrus was only considered to play the role of her father after Miley Cyrus had locked down the position, which yes, makes Billy Ray Cyrus a Nepo daddy. Yes, it's entirely possible that Miley Cyrus only got to audition because she is the child of a performer, but it's also clear that she was the best one for the role and absolutely killed it, launching her career. She was clearly prepared for that role, and the producers saw that. North West, on the other hand, was not properly prepared, neither by her parents or the producers, and that's cruel. Because with the amount of overwhelming hate comments and harassment coming her way, even as a 10-year-old, she has to be aware of it, and she's going to carry that with her through the most formative years of her life. But hey, it's not like child stars have a history of mental health struggles or anything. The point I want to end this video on is, yes, Nepo babies are extremely privileged, there's no denying that. But you have to remember they are also the children and victims of very neglectful parents who put an immense amount of pressure on them. We don't need to add on to the harassment of 10-year-olds online. That's cringe. Yes, it sucks that North West took the role that probably should have gone to one of these more deserving and talented children at the time, but what can we do about that? She isn't the decision maker in this. You should be making fun of her parents and the producers, because with all the money they spent trying to make North West a star, they probably could have afforded a top of the line acting and singing coach. You want to make your child a star? Cool. Teach them to be a star instead of putting them in situations they're gonna humiliate themselves. Just don't be mean to children online. They're dumb little stinky beasts that have yet to form morals. You're probably gonna forget about North West's performance in a couple of months, but she's going to remember it for the rest of her life. Children are cringe and they need to learn not to be, but they should be given a space to do so without being told they're the scum of the earth. Outside of that, I am completely prepared to leave my YouTube channel with 1,000 subscribers to my next of kin so that they're properly set up for the rest of their life. Seriously though, thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. It means a lot. I'm super excited with the traction this channel is getting, and I love you all, but not in a parasocial way. Have a nice damn rest of y'all's day.